If you want to learn how to make this delicious yellow cake with fresh berries and a raspberry filling to die for with vanilla bean whipped cream, please keep watching. And these are our dry ingredients. In a bowl, add your flour, your baking powder, your baking soda, and salt, and you're going to give that a really good whisk. In a mixing bowl, add your butter and your sugar and your brown sugar. And you're going to grab the paddle attachment and you're going to add this to your mixing bowl, and you're going to start the speed at medium high speed, and you're going to mix this until it's bright white and it has tripled in volume, and you can see that it's light and fluffy. While that's mixing, we're going to go ahead and spray our cake pans. I'm using 3 8-inch cake pans, and I just cut a circle around a parchment, and I'm using Baker's Joy is my favorite because there's a little bit of flour in that spray, unlike Pam, and it kind of helps prevent stickage of cake. Once your butter sugar mixture is nice and light and fluffy, we can start adding our eggs, and we're going to add this egg mixture 1 egg at a time, beating to blend after each addition. And once we're halfway through, we're going to scrape the bowl down to ensure that there's no egg yolks on the bottom, and we're just going to continue adding the rest of the eggs. So that's the last bit of egg, and now I'm going to let that mix until it's fully combined before we add our vanilla extract. So you want to lower the speed of the mixer to low speed and slowly stream the vanilla. And then you can stop and scrape down the bowl just to ensure that the vanilla is incorporated throughout the sugar mixture. Now we're ready to add our wet and dry ingredients. You're going to start off with adding the canola oil to the buttermilk, and you're going to bring the mixer down to low speed. We're going to do this on low speed so that once we add the flour mixture, which you're going to add into 3 additions, and the buttermilk mixture in 2 additions, you want to prevent gluten from forming. So low speed is the way to go. So I'm going to start off with my dry ingredients and then add my buttermilk mixture, and then back to my dry buttermilk mixture, back to my dry. You want to turn off the mixer and set that aside. Now we're going to get started with whipping our egg whites. Using a handheld mixer, I'm going to whip the egg whites until stiff peak. And what this does is that we're going to fold this into our cake batter, and this is going to give the texture of the cake its really light and airiness. To start off with our folding, we're going to add about 1/4 of the egg white mixture, and I'm going to gently fold this over until you don't see any egg whites. And what I'm doing is I'm using the rubber spatula and going under the batter and lifting up in the center. So you kind of want to cross and fold until you see that everything's combined, and then you want going to add another about 1/4 of the whole egg white mixture into it, and you're going to repeat this process until your last addition, and you want to keep folding and just ensure that you don't see any egg whites, and you're good. Evenly divide the cake batter into the 3 cake pans. Using an offset spatula, smooth out the tops of the batter for an even layer. Bake at 325 for 20 to 25 minutes, or until a cake tester is inserted in the center of the cake and a few moist crumbs come out. pull the cakes out of the oven and invert them into a cooling rack and let them sit for about 5 minutes before you pull the tops out. And look at how moist this cake is. So fluffy and bouncy, as you can see, touching the sides, and it's just glorious. Let's get started on making our Swiss Meringue Buttercream. These are the ingredients you will need. In a small saucepan, pour about a cup of water and bring that up to a simmer. In a mixing bowl, add your sugar and your egg whites and give that a really good whisk. Now you're going to place this over the simmering pot of water, and you're going to keep stirring until your egg mixture reaches 160 Fahrenheit. Remove from heat, and we're going to place this in a mixing bowl with the whisk attachment. And we're going to start this off on medium-high speed, and we're going to whip it until the bowl cools slightly to the touch, and the meringue at this point has tripled in volume and is white, and it's medium soft peaks. And I kind of take the whisk attachment and I stir it around to see where it's at, and this is how it should look. Kind of droops a little bit, kind of gives that little curve peak, and that's what you're kind of looking for. So once you're there, we can start adding our butter, and this is softened butter, so I just add it slowly, ensuring that, yeah, and you want to put the speed up. That's what I'm just doing right now, in case you're wondering. And you just want to add the butter a little bit at a time, about 2 tablespoons, and let it fully incorporate, and then add more. And you keep doing this until you hit about halfway through the butter that you've incorporated, and then you stop the mixer and you scrape down the bowl, ensuring that you hit the bottom of the bowl, because sometimes butter tends to hide there. And you keep adding the other rest of the butter and doing the same method, adding 2 tablespoons, letting it whisk. So this is definitely something you guys can walk away from and then come back and then add another 2. If it gets watery, as you guys can see, it will do that. Just keep whisking it. This buttercream is going to come together. Don't worry about it. It's very forgiving. And we're ready to add our vanilla. So we're going to bring the mixer down to low speed and add the vanilla and the salt, and we're just going to ensure that everything is fully incorporated. And now we get to see the texture. So the buttercream is super light and silky and creamy. So I want to get all the air pockets out and have it extra smooth and creamy. So how I'm going to do this is I'm going to actually use the paddle to smooth it out even more. But this buttercream has a lot of body, as you guys can see. So you're going to bring this up to low speed and let it paddle away. It usually takes anywhere from 7 to 10 minutes. It's so silky and smooth now. For the vanilla whipped cream, in a mixing bowl, pour your heavy cream, powdered sugar, and vanilla bean paste. Whip until medium stiff peaks. We are finally ready to assemble this cake. I'm using a cake turner for this cake assembly, and I'm placing the cake over the cake board, and I'm going to pipe a circle around using the Swiss Meringue Buttercream, and I kind of do 2 loops, and I try to make it as even as possible. And now I'm going to fill it with the vanilla whipped cream filling and after that, I'm going to add that raspberry filling. It's super delicious. If you want the recipe, it's on my channel. It's the raspberry filling. And I'm going to add little globs, I think that's a word, of it. And then I'm going to do this swirling effect. And now I'm going to top it with some fresh berries, strawberries, and raspberries. And I'm going to add a little bit of buttercream over the berries and smooth that out with the offset spatula and place another cake layer on top of that. Now we're going to repeat the same process as before, the 2 loops of Swiss Meringue Buttercream, and I'm going to use an offset spatula to kind of push down on the edges of the buttercream. And what this does, it keeps all the goodies inside, and I'm going to follow that with the vanilla whipped cream, and then I'm going to add more raspberry jam and do the little swirl and top with fresh berries, raspberries, strawberries, add my cake layer on top of that, and we are ready to start crumb coating this cake. What I like to do is grab a pastry bag and fill it up with buttercream, and I like to just do like a circle loop covering the top and do the same, go up and down on the sides of the cake. It's just the way that I was taught many years ago, and it's just the way we would do it in the restaurants. I was a restaurant pastry chef for many years, definitely not a cake decorator, and what this would kind of do, it makes the process a lot quicker. It ensures that there's enough buttercream throughout the cake, so you're not struggling and adding more, and it's just for speed and efficiency. But if you're comfortable doing it by grabbing an offset and adding it that way, then do it that way. This is just what I like to teach, but to each their own, right? And there's no right way of covering a cake. You can do it however you feel like it at the end of the day. So I just kind of go around with the offset spatula, ensuring that there's no like big gaps or big holes that need to be smoothed out or filled. And then I'm going to switch it off to this large scraper, and it's metal, which I like because I can warm it up, which I will be doing after I get this crumb coat in. So I just try to smooth it out as best as I can, not spending too much time with it again because this is the first coat, and I'm gonna stick it in the refrigerator for about an hour so that it hardens up, and then it's easier to smooth out. If you want to stick it in the freezer, that's even better. Okay, so our cake is cold. It's been in the refrigerator for 2 hours, and I pulled it out, and I'm just gonna fill my bag up with buttercream again, and now I'm just doing circles just to kind of evenly coat the cake with the pastry bag, and then I'm going to do the same with the top. I'm not really worried about how it looks right now because I like to use this large cake metal scraper, and the reason why I like to use it is that I have a blowtorch, or you can use pot with hot water, or just run it through hot water in the sink, and I like to warm it up, and that's what I'm kind of doing. And then I just use it to smooth out the edges of the cake so it's nice and smooth as best as I can. And I do the same for the top. You can even throw this cake again in the refrigerator if you have time, and smooth it out again when the buttercream is hard, it's much more easier to get smoother sides as you're scraping. Same thing with the top. So if you have time, I recommend you do it, and if you don't, just try and do the as best as you can. And I stuck the cake in the refrigerator one more time, and I'm just kind of scraping off the top, and trying get the top as smooth as possible. You know, sometimes mistakes happen, and that's okay. Just keep working at it. And it's a cake. It's all about how the cake tastes. And once we're done with that, now that we got it as smooth as we possibly can get this cake, we are going to decorate. So home stretch, guys. So now I'm gonna fill the bag up again with some more buttercream, and I just kind of do like loops on the side. And this is a berry cake. So I'm going to use fresh flowers, and I'm going to use strawberries and raspberries to decorate this cake. I'm not a cake decorator, so my channel will be like cute and beautiful cakes, but definitely I'm not making these huge like cake creations that I know some of these content creators do. So it will be more simple and basic. So I kind of just did this circle loop, kind of following the same pattern, going around. And this is just going to get covered, so don't worry about it too much. And now I'm just going to add my roses from my garden, and I'm going to add some berries. So this is the fun part, is just making it look cute. I think if you just go one side and you try and fill another large item on the other side and just kind of go opposites, it kind of looks more organic and pretty. And this is how the cake turned out. I'm going to do some dollops of buttercream just for some decor, and then I'm going to hit it with some pink glitter, because why not, right? And voila, the cake is done. How cute.